Hey guys, welcome to another With Friends episode. Today, my special guest is Dr. Emily Jacobs. She is known as an author, a keynote speaker, a leadership coach, and advanced practice nurse with over 20 years of experience. Today, she's helping high achieving leaders outcome. Oh my goodness, guys, words today. So what Emily does is she helps high achieving leaders overcome burnout, reclaim joy, and lead with purpose. It's so good. She is also the founder of a community of over 700 women called the Empowered Moms, where she empowers mothers to break those generational cycles and build balanced and fulfilling lives. So, Emily, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Brittany. I'm so excited to be here with you and all your guests.
Yes, it's going to be a good conversation. I mean, you are selling out events. You are coaching hundreds of women. You got a best-selling book. So, I mean, I could say all of these things and all of these titles that we're familiar with, but really, can you just kind of share with us, who are we actually talking to today? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, geez. Yes. I mean, I'm in to get into the raw because I think it's really important that people know. So actually, I am a recovering people pleaser and perfectionist who had to learn the hard way, is how I put it, how to set healthy boundaries to really enjoy my life. And I know that's it in the nutshell. You did all the other talking, so I'll just kind of get to the realist of why I do what I do, why it's important for me. And I'm also a girl mom, so I think that's always important to kind of note, only because sometimes that's a struggle in itself. Those girl moms, you guys know me, you know. So yeah, I'm a mom of two littles who, are like 7 going on 16, all the things. And yeah, I really know that there's this impact in my heart that is meant to make a difference. And sometimes when I tried to quiet it, it just got louder. So after all those things you listed, yes, those are all the things that I do. But essentially, I really love helping ambitious women believe in themselves, believe that they're worthy enough for their big dreams, and really, truly, that dreams don't end at motherhood. And there's more to that, but I'll just kind of leave it at that for now.
Leave it at that. Okay. So you mentioned, I mean, this concept of people pleasing, like, yes, let's just dive right on in. So when you think of people pleasing, let's get everybody on the same page here. Define it for us.
Yeah, so really a people pleaser is doing things to make others happy. That's the simplest term. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I don't want you guys to sit and listen to this one because they're going to be like, wait, what? There's nothing wrong with people pleasing? There is at a certain degree, but at first, your people pleasing tendencies, you like making people happy. You like seeing that smile on the face. You like the joy. I mean, I love pleasing my clients. Are you kidding me? Like, that's why then they come back or they refer someone, right? I love doing that. What we have to realize, that's why I'm like a recovering people pleaser, maybe, is I'm taking the negative out of it. I'll say it for me. Like, I have to realize and recognize in that moment, am I overgiving past my limit? So we'll talk about boundaries later. But am I overgiving past my limit? What will that cost me when I do it? Because there is always a cost, right? And what is the reason? Like, why am I people pleasing? Am I attached to some outcome that maybe I need to let go of? So there's a little bit more, it's a little bit deeper to that, right? It's not as simple as just, oh, I'm a people pleaser and I love making people happy. There's also some depth to my story, is that I think I became a people pleaser, and I know I'm not the only one, because I was trying to make my mom happy as a kid. And this is where it gets this is where the tear jerkers might come out. So my mom was like a super passionate and vibrant woman. I mean, just strong, a little bullheaded, but like she kind of wore the pants in the house. Like, she was a strong woman to model after. And then she would just be like, well, can you do this? Like, it'll make me really happy if you wear these itchy tights or the wool sweater. It's just like, I hated these things. Could you curl your hair? It'll just look nicer. All these little things kept happening. And I would do those things, and it still didn't really make her happy.
Yeah.
So over time, I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I make my mom happy? She said this would work. Now, I wrote a whole chapter about it in the book, about blame. So don't go into blame mode if that's you. But understand that when I finally realized that I was doing that, that was my choice. And when people pleasers realize that I chose to do this, right?
Yes.
I can now unchoose it. And it'll
Mhm.
start with what you think is disappointing someone that actually may happen. You have to start being okay with that.
Mhm.
That's where it's debilitating for a people pleaser to stop people pleasing, because we're like, well, now it's going to disappoint. Now if I said no to my mom, this was when I was a teenager, by the way, like a kid,
Yeah.
if I said no to her, it'll disappoint her. But I'm not okay with these decisions anymore. And it's also not working because my end result was trying to people please her. So then why am I
Mhm.
doing it anyway?
So when did you kind of have this moment where you almost like you willingly made the choice to, hey, I'm going to do something that's going to disappoint mom, and I'm going to be okay with this?
Yeah, I have a pivotal one in my 30s, but earlier before that, I remember asking her these questions like, don't we all have choices, mom? Like the word choice came up. Now she's an adult and I was still like a teenager, a kid. And I'm like, when I would say to her, why don't you like ever do anything to, take better care of yourself or do something nice for yourself? And she'd be like, well, I gave up my life for my kids. Well, yeah, that was kind of positive at first. And then it turned into, well, I gave up my life for you. Like I don't have one anymore. So to watch as a
Mhm.
kid, your mom deteriorate over time, progressively deteriorate when she's saying, I gave up my life for you. I'm like, but you're not dead. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, but you're choosing to not go to the
Mhm.
gym or eat healthy or whatever. You are giving up on your life. And I think that was the pivotal moment of me going, I am going to make different choices that are better for me. And I'm not going to sit there and blame it on, I didn't have kids at the time, but I knew I wouldn't do that when I have kids. That is the
And
one, if I could break any cycle, it was that cycle of I am not going to say, I gave up my life for you. Mother is a
mhm.
sacrifice, 100%. I'm not going to argue with anybody. It was a sacrifice. Well, don't let me tell you about the whole last month of my life. But we did earlier, but we won't. One kid's sick, then the other one's sick, and you're like, I guess I'm not
Yep.
working. Great.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a sacrifice. But then where am I not communicating the other needs that I have with my partner or outsourcing something or asking for receiving help, all the things.
Yep.
So, coming back to that people pleasing is just recognizing when it's too much. And it's because what's happening is then you're going to get disappointed and you're going to say, but look at all the things I did for this
Yeah.
person.
It's well, because how much of our value, and not to totally derail here, but like how much of our value do we willingly choose, like place, like we choose how we define success. We choose how much we want to associate our value with our works, with our achievements. And I think that that's part of, and you and I share this common desire to help folks wake up from burnout, and that's just by recognizing those things, that it's the choices that we're making and the values that we're associating with it.
That's exactly right. We can derail on that because people will say, like when we talk about what is wealth or what is success, and I'm like, it's the same thing as when people say, oh, self-care sounds selfish. Like it's all whatever you define this to be. Listen, this is truly made up. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like I used to be a nurse, right? So for 20 years I was a nurse, and guess what? Guess what the definition of pain is? Literally, I'm not even joking. Like you're going to be like, are you serious? It's whatever the patient says it is. That's the definition of
Uh-huh.
pain. How can I know what your pain is? How can I
Well,
assess that? Now, granted, we did have some patients that would say, I have like 10 out of 10 pain, which is like the worst pain in your life. And I was like, so I would document as a nurse, but they're smiling and there's no muscle tension. And I would document all the other key factors that I would see, but I had to say whatever they said it was. So
mm,
now, sorry, I had a little side note on my nursing friends and anyone out there, but what's wealth? Is it just attached to money? What are you attaching this to?
yes.
Right? What's success? What is that to you? And I think you have to define what that is, because you might be skewed in chasing something or an outcome that isn't meant to serve you. I used to
Mhm.
think wealth just meant like a ton of money. And that made sense to me. I was like, you're wealthy. That makes sense. But when I hear that, it still got negative at some point because my parents probably said something around like rich people
Uh-huh.
are blah, 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 whatever. We all
Yep.
said it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And to me, wealthy, and maybe you feel this too, and a lot of business owners and I, we chat about this. I'm like, wealthy is peace and freedom.
Yes. Yes. I
Peace and
love Danielle Delgado. She like has these sayings where it's like, man, if it's not, rich for my family, rich for my community, rich for my business, rich for my health, like rich for my life, like I don't want any part of it. I think that that's part of like if it's not wealthy for my business, like peace,
yeah,
that's that value that we're chasing, that value that we associate with things. It's a choice.
yeah, yeah, definitely back to choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when we start making those choices for ourselves and saying, what will this look like as defined by me? What does taking care of myself look like, i.e. self-care? I can't say the word self-care because it's a little triggering. That's a whole other thing. That's a whole other mother-daughter story.
Uh,
But same thing with wealth is I've redefined it. Wealth to
yeah.
me is freedom and peace, and whatever that looks like. Is it peace in my, is my anxiety under control? Is my worry under control? Is my freedom? Am I free from money worries? Am I free from all whatever? So I think that's when you start kind of embracing that, you start really realizing what are your priorities too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, and how you'd mentioned with the people pleasing, like that there's part of it where you've chosen that people pleasing doesn't always have to be a bad thing. You've
Yeah.
chosen to kind of look at it in two different lights, and to with anything, to break it apart and say, wait a second, too much of something can
Mhm.
often have the adverse effect, right? And so kind of same thing with people pleasing. I love that perspective. I can't say that I've heard that one before. So I really do appreciate you bringing that forward.
Yeah, I think it was an eye opening for me because I'm like, but I actually love doing that. There's parts of
Yeah.
that I love doing, and I think when you and I have chatted, I'm like, that's probably why I've cultivated this community of women, and I'm very supportive, and I it's just how I am. Like that's easy for me, and that's my nature, and I love like not people pleasing, but I love making people happy or those types of things. I mean, and then I was a nurse for a long time. I was a caretaker. Like that's just what I did. Those were the things that were easy for me. And then what I have to realize is, how is my energy today? What is my
Mm-hmm.
time? Where are my boundaries? Why am I getting impatient with my children today? What's going on? I have probably overserved someone or something, not to their fault. It's never their fault. It's completely mine. Or my schedule is too jammed for a few days and I didn't put in intentional time, right? So
Yep.
it's things like that. I mean, this is constant. Someone told me like, you're the expert at boundaries. I was like, oh my gosh, my husband was walking by right now. He would laugh so hard the house would break. I was like, no, I'm the expert at teaching it. I'm also
Yeah.
the expert at being relatable and vulnerable about it because I am constantly practicing it every day, every single
Mm-hmm.
day. And
Every
that's why it's
single
so
day.
important for me to teach these things and to talk about them, is because this isn't going away, people.
Sure
Like
is not.
this is here to
Sure
stay.
is not. Yep. Sure not. And the second that we think we've got it, like our children will throw some other curveball at us. Like it's that constant growth and evolution.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And now with so kind of the place where my brain is going here is like, okay, so you start to have these, what do you think was on the outside that kind of started triggering you to have these internal conversations with yourself where you're like, man, this kind of seems like it's a choice? Or like, what kind of was going on? Do you see what I'm asking here? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there had to have been something that was kind of trying to like wake you up a little bit. Like, what was knocking on the, hey, something's a little off here?
Well, I think just being a teenager and being like, but you're an adult. Like, I don't get to make I don't get to make all my choices, right? Yeah. I was
Mm,
like 16 or something. And so I'm like, but you're an adult. Don't you just get to? And so to me, I'm like, there is such a disconnect because don't you just get to? And at the same time, I mean, I also was like, what do you do with your day all day, mom? Sorry, like she's not alive anymore, but we chat all the time. And she knows that I have full gratitude for a lot of the things now because I didn't realize, how amazing motherhood is, like all
yeah.
the things we do. But the point was, is I'm like, I think what hurt so much to me is how much I couldn't help her. Now, this went on for decades. That there's nothing I could say or do to get her to change her mind about taking better care of herself. And man, did I try. I had counselors tell me, it is not your job, 20s and 30s years old. It is not your job to take care of your mom. And I said, but you're going to tell me to stop? I don't know how to stop. I will do this until what happened, Brittany, is much later, is it started crushing me in my 30s. And that is when there was this pivotal boundary where I'm like, I'm done. And I love you at the same time. But I am done trying to change anybody. She's really the only person I really wanted to change because I just wanted her to be different. For her,
oh yeah, it's mom.
It was mom. I knew she knew better. And that was it. I'm like, but you know better. Right?
Yeah.
So to me, it was personal. And there was even times I'm like, I want you to live longer and I want this, right? And it was hard to watch. Now, I think, well, here's the thing. I'm like, I mean, God always has the outcomes. I'm not going to say that this was all because of that, but my mom did pass away in 2020, early 2020, right before my second daughter was born. There's a whole lot of, I'm getting like chills just thinking about it. But I knew I was going to write this book called Live Your Life for You, Not Your Mom. Now, that wasn't the title, but the title, something about choices. And like we always, I don't care how old you are, we always have a choice. If something is not working, if something is not right, if you're getting more and more anxiety, and trust me, I'm raising two hands because this still happens to me today. Like, I'm like, yes, this happened last night again. I'm like, what do I need to change? Like literally, you have the option to change something. And guess what? The reason you're not doing it is because it's hard. I get it.
It's hard and it pulls at the heartstrings and right. There's how is this going to, it's all the emotions too, that we're carrying and we're attaching with it subconsciously and consciously. Like, I mean, the guilt, I imagine that is felt like, okay, I, and then the like powerlessness, like, okay, I can't change this piece or this person that I love dearly. Like it's heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy because it's so like rich on our souls.
I think anything that we want so badly. And I hear you with that too. I mean, there's just many people. The most of my coaching experience came from coaching healthcare providers out of burnout. And guess who was one? Like this lady. What's hard is that now, years later, I don't do it as much. I do more with, moms and leaders. What was hard is that what I learned over those years was, so we're choosing this, right? It's all back down to the choices. I chose it for a couple of years because guess what? This was, my family needed the income and I had all my reasons. The reasons were so logical. And I lived with them and it was fine until it wasn't. And then it was eating away at my soul. And then it became really toxic. And then this is where I'm like, there's no coincidences. I had toxic experience after toxic experience. And I was like, then why am I choosing to walk into this facility? Like, what light bulb moment? What do I think? I can't figure this out on my own? I didn't think I could for years. And I didn't think there was a different solution. And then those wake up calls. So I think that that's what's important is when you're in this like burnout, exhaustion, overwhelmed, that you honestly, you feel like you freeze there. You feel like there's no solution to this whatsoever. And I just have to live with it.
Yeah.
I might call, I was going to say something a little harsh and I'm going to try not to, but I want you to ask yourself, why am I choosing that belief? Is there anything out there I could choose a different response? And then what am I scared about? What's on the other side of this different response? Or this different job or this conversation that's going to be really hard? What's on the other side of that?
Yeah.
And I think that's, when you're up against boundaries or disappointing someone, even so much as just saying no or delaying a response to someone, we get debilitated by the other person's response versus us saying what we really need, what needs to happen for us. Yeah. Maybe it feels selfish. Oh, well, but if you don't say it, if you don't express something, if you don't make it out there, put it out there, how's anyone ever going to know?
How are you going to know? And their response is not your responsibility. And I've had to learn that in so many different ways in my own life, where it was like, okay, what can I like, the only things that I can worry about, the only things that I can put my time and my energy and my effort in so that I can be the light that I need to, so that I can steward the things that I need to steward in my life, is if I'm willing to accept accountability for the things that I can control and to create separation for the things that I cannot be held responsible for. And a lot of times it was, I mean, others' reactions. And I think that, layers into the people pleasing as well, where you're just like, we try to lead because you're right. There's that servant heart. We want to make others happy. We want to empower others. We want to see others thrive as much as they can.
Yeah.
But never, like, it can't be from a sacrificing place. It's like one of those, like, right, like can't pour from an empty cup type of deal. Like, it can never be from a sacrificing place. Otherwise, then the results are everything that you've talked about. It's the guilt, it's the shame, it's the head butting, it's the black hole, it's the being stuck.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like we talked about, a lot of things are a sacrifice, right? So when you're up against these choices of like, am I sacrificing my time, my energy, or my money, right? Or my mental health? Which one, it's almost like which one's moving the needle? And whether it's maybe just a decision within your families or motherhood or business, it doesn't matter what it is, but it's like, what's worth this cost right now? And so I was going to go into a simple example, but one is like just even doing like chores around the house. Let's just say it's like, if it's costing me my time and energy and then it's affecting my mental health, like I know it might sound silly, then why am I not using my resource of money, right? Or trialing it. I always tell people it's a trial. Try it out. If that didn't work, then that wasn't the solution. Same thing with your business. Like how many times people are like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to fail, right? We've talked about this, or, people have talked about this all the time. All right, well then just don't start. Cause I mean, I've probably failed so many times at so many things now, but I was debilitated by them too. Right. So I think too, when you come back to like the people pleasing, I think there also is this, am I good enough? And there's this deep kind of wound in there that I've found that a lot of women struggle with, is this, am I good enough or worthy enough? And that's where your self-sacrificing, people-pleasing tendencies turn into self-sabotage. Because then you'll go, no, see, I'm not good enough for that, or I'm not smart enough, pretty enough, this enough, that enough. So I'll just keep sacrificing and then sabotaging myself. And unfortunately, then you are stuck in victim mentality of complaining about everything. I love you all, but I have to say these words. And you're choosing it.
You're choosing it. What you're not changing, you're choosing. Right? Yep. That quote out there. Yep. And I'm appreciative that you really went, like, that you hit back on why folks continue to choose it. And it's good. You're getting stuck in the self-sacrificing, and I think something else that's coming up for me too is like the unhealed parts of us that we just are sometimes too afraid to look at, too afraid to do the inner work. If we're sitting there and we're like, hey, I could never walk away from this job. I could never walk away from this relationship. I'm burnt out. I could never do whatever. Like, what is really the driver behind that? What's really the belief behind it? If it is that, hey, I'm not worthy. Okay. Where does your worth come from? And again, that a value that we're associating with everything in our lives, right?
Well, and I think you bring up such a great point, because it's always, these triggers are always with us. I'm sorry. I've tried to brush them under a rug. I'm sure you have too. I've tried to shoot it, slap it around. You know what? I just realized they're a part of me. I've literally even tried to ask my husband, I'm like, what is the solution? And he's like, I don't know. I just don't think like that. And I was like, okay, so if I could just there are days I'm like, seriously, God, could you just like give me more of his, just like, he's like, it's just, I just kind of like live each day. And I'm like, must be nice, man. I got worries 6 months from now. Right?
That's why God gave him you, and vice versa. See,
it's so funny. And I was like, and not blaming. I'm jealous. Like I am like, come on, like help scale this back. Now it is science. Sorry, I had to get a little sciencey on it. The female brain is like a grand central station, and the male brain has 4 thoughts and 4 parts. So, it does kind of make sense, like why they're like kind of in survival of like A, B, C, and D. Nothing else is a priority, and we're like 5 million things are a priority. I can't figure it out. And so that's, I just feel like there's a little cohesiveness there of reality checks. So yeah, little tangents there, but I think it's important for us, maybe as females, is to understand, wait a minute, is this worry? Is this thought? Are these triggers? Is this serving me? Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes they're there to give you a message, as you probably understand. Yeah. Why does this message keep coming up?
Why is this message keep coming up?
You probably haven't done anything different to change it.
Yeah.
You've probably seen too, some of our mentors and people out there, they're like, change up your routine and just see what happens. Change up that drive to work, brush your teeth with the other hand. Your brain's programmed to keep cycling through some of these kind of negative thoughts. But when you start doing things a little bit different, it kind of triggers your brain to think differently. So
yes.
Yeah,
I call it, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I call it the glitch in the system. Like the number one thing when folks are like, when I hear the phrase, I just feel stuck. Mm-hmm. It's, that to me right there is a trigger, and it's okay, do something different, anything. And it could be the simplest thing of brushing your teeth. Like that was a great example. You have to create a glitch in the system so that there all of a sudden becomes room for that curiosity. Because if you can get that brain to a point where your brain is actually starting to get curious about, why does this keep coming up? Why am I feeling this way? Why is this a trigger? That the more room for curiosity that we create, then all of a sudden we just start, it is like wind blowing through a house, windows start just flapping open, doors just start flapping open because you got curious. And that's how you get unstuck.
That's another good point that just got brought up that I keep programming more is when I'm doing my admin work, like not coaching or podcast, because I can't really do this at a coffee shop. I have to move my physical location. If I went and worked 4 hours at a coffee shop, I would get about 3 days worth of stuff done. Then if I did, that's maybe a little exaggerating. I'm not that fast, but you know what I mean? Like I am focused because I'm like, I intentionally got in my car to go to this other place. I know one of my girlfriends would rent out a hotel room for one night and relax, because that never happened. And then the next day before she checked out, she just busted out a ton of work. I still haven't done that. Still a little bit mom guilt. But I get what she was saying. She's like, I had to change up my environment. So my thoughts were different. And my creativity was different. You've been parts of books. Like sometimes you just have to go to a different place to write a certain part of a book or get creative. So I think that exactly like you're saying is switch things up a little bit too. Change up that routine. There's some women that I talk to all the time that I'm like, do you just wake up and hit the ground running? Is it just like, boom, emails, this, that? A lot of people I was coaching before were in corporate too. And they're like, well, as soon as the alarm goes off, I start checking or scrolling or doing this. And I said, right. So you just brought in the outside world before you even took a breath. Like, come on. Yep. So I said, this was so painful. And I know half of them haven't done it yet. I just have a feeling, I know myself, is take your alarm on your phone, hit the snooze or whatever the button is and turn it over and put it away. And then at least take a few deep breaths. Try. It'll be painfully hard for those women to do that. Myself included. I had to like retrain my brain to not go and reach for it. Oh, I'm just relaxing in bed. I can just kind of like check on some stuff, and see what friends message me and blah, blah, blah. Who cares? It's 6 a.m. or whatever. Yep. But filling your cup, where we talked about it, is a little cliche, but 5 minutes. What's 5 minutes of you just like, I'm going to either deep breathe or just sit here in silence, pray, meditate, journal. I don't care. 5 minutes. Yeah. Like it'll be painfully hard for someone to do that. But I challenge you that if you came to me and I was coaching and you said I hit the ground running, I'm going to say, why do you choose to do that?
Why do you choose to do that? Yep. And then getting curious. I don't, because blah, 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 and all the things that we'll tell ourselves, because same thing. Well, because everybody needs me, because I want to be dependable. Like, I want everybody to come to me. I want to have all the answers. I want to prove myself. Right.
Yeah.
And it is the constant. And unless we make space for it, I always tell people such a huge part of my own transformation was I stopped logging on to work so early. And instead of logging on at 6:30, which again, no one was asking me to log on at 6:30 in the morning. It was a choice I was making for all of the, the reasons. But instead of making the choice to log on at 6:30, it was like, okay, I'll log on at 6:45. Again, no one is expecting me for hours, but that's what I
guys hearing that? No one needs her.
No one. And I got on and it was like, oh my gosh. So I started taking those 15 minutes just to journal, just to write whatever came to mind. And what I started realizing was that the quieter, that just creating that space to journal, creating that space, I was starting to pray more. I was starting to read my Bible more. It was like I was creating 15 minutes to just hear my own thoughts. And the more I started to hear myself again, the more I started getting so clear, the clarity that came with that silence of just hearing where I was at every day. So that's a question I ask myself every day, multiple times a day. Where am I at? Just to hear myself think. And 15 minutes with God in the morning, 15 minutes with myself, it changed my life. And I believe it's so powerful.
I think it's so true, because you are choosing how to set your day off. And that's where I challenge every listener. Now, maybe you're a night person. So then how do you end your day, right? So then choose something that's for you, or both, right? For me, it's like I finally got into that sweet spot. Now, obviously, it's not every day. There's days I do hit the ground running, sort of. Like, I just try not to run. I just try to like slowly get up. But on the weekends, like I just didn't set an alarm and my kids kind of woke me up. Okay, well, so that's the weekend, right? Like I'm really not like worried about anything. But I do have better days. And the sweet spot for me is about 30 minutes. Okay. I don't get it every day and I don't do it every day, but when I do, and here's the choice part, is that when I do, I'm kind of like correlating like, oh, I really refreshed my cup. 30 minutes is a lot for me. 15 is kind of the minimum of like, I just really 10 to 15 is what I really would be great. 30 is like the cherry on top. And then I try not to get mad when it's, not in there and it's no one's fault. Maybe my kids woke up a little earlier. Maybe this. There's been days I had like an hour and I was like, holy, lots of fun swear words just for fun in my brain. So I was like, what? Like, holiness.
That was amazing.
Did I then go dive into work? Heck yeah, I did. But it was like amazing because I had like creativity and quiet time. And I already filled my cup. So I'm like, oh my God, I get so much work done. Like they're still sleeping. This is insane. So again, you choose, right? You choose how to start your day and how to fill your cup without serving anyone else first. Try to serve what makes sense for you. Do what makes sense to you, that fills your cup first.
Yep. How do the word that's coming up right now is surrendering. So you're like, how do you surrender to the choice that's going to serve you?
Now this is where the unjuggle, the struggle comes in.
Right. Here's the unjuggle part. How do we surrender to the choice that's going to serve us?
I think what's first is on a moment like this, we discover, what do we actually need? What am I not getting that I need? So if I say to you, Brittany, I just need some deep breaths, man. I need some time in my day where I just slow down, right? So you as a friend or a coach or a mentor would say, well, how do we put that in your day, right? So I think that's one piece, is making that decision and making that the priority. I just said to my husband, like, I do such a great job in the morning. And what we are realizing is I probably need at least 2 more times throughout the day to do a 5 to 10 minute check-in of like, how am I, what's going on? That is where, for me, that struggle is, when I have that, and not even if, because I will create it, will I actually stick to it? And what will I do with it? And I think too, it's a choose your own adventure. But I think in a conversation first, or write it down, get a little postcard or a post-it note and say, what would actually fill my cup? And have a couple options. So that way, when you intentionally, notice I said intentionally, because you're not going to find the time, people. It doesn't magically appear like, poof, I'm just going to give you 15 minutes. No. It's not going to happen. You have to make it. Meaning after this call, like if this call got done earlier, my client had to cancel. Oh, I'm going to fill it in there. That's where I'm going to do it. Or I'm intentionally going to put it 10 minutes before I have to pick up my kids, because I need it before I always called it phase 2 of the day, is now I'm a mom with children and I have to like get into mom mode. Right. And so I kind of have my list of things. It's like, sometimes it's lay there and do nothing, which can be painfully hard. You know, like we talked about, it could be prayer, meditate, journal. What's easiest for me and what usually fills me up is putting on a song that kind of lifts me up. Okay. So even if I'm just sitting at my desk right now and it's feeling a little spicy again, and I'm getting a little anxious, if I'm like, no. 5 minutes of your favorite song, stick it on and just walk around the room, move your body, usually will help. So all these different options, again, you don't have to do what Brittany does or what Emily does or what your best friend does. Do not listen to people that said, drink this special sauce and your problems will go away. Do this and everything will happen. Please fire your coaches right away when they do that. Now, again, if it's a business
hilarious
coach and they're like, these strategies work, I mean, it's up to you. You can, again, I think of everything as a trial. It worked for her. Is it going to work for me? And the best coaches will say, try it. This is what worked for me. Many of my colleagues use it, but it might not be the right solution for you. So I always am just like, it's always going to be on your terms and on your choice. That's why I'm like, my book should have been titled Choices. It was going to be. But my book coach was like, I don't know. It's like a little more than that.
And a little, yeah, I could see where that could go. Good decisions were made.
Other decisions were made. But so the other title is super long, but it makes me laugh. But yeah, so I feel like maybe write it down now. What are those things that you could do? And make it let's make it short. Let's make it like kind of 5 minutes or so first. Let's start with something. And then you choose. In the morning, if it's too hard to just lay there, because like I used to be like a busybody, like, oh God, like it was painful. I was like, oh, I'm just going to grab my phone. I'm going to grab my phone. Like, this is so hard. Then get up and move your body, whatever. Do like walk around, take a deep breath, like just start doing something else. And then, you know, at least what you're telling yourself though, is that you matter and you're important, and that it's important to fill your cup first.
Yeah.
And if 5 minutes was too much, then start with one, but start with something.
Absolutely. Start with one. If it's writing down one sentence of something you're grateful for, like if that's what you're going to do, that takes literally 45 seconds. Like if you got to start with 45 seconds, start with 45 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen.
So, okay. Oh, go ahead. Do you have?
No, I was going to mic drop you.
Mic drop. No, I was mic dropping you. So, okay. So like with the, hey, like, you know, if you're in the situation, I'm going to try and kind of like recap. So if you know that you're in the situation where you want to make a different choice, then part of that is kind of all of these tools that we've thrown out. So the making some intentional time for yourself, whatever that looks like, so that you can fill your cup, and whether that's like putting on a song or taking deep breaths, like something that would glitch the system is going to create that curiosity, so that then you kind of feels like, so that then maybe you feel like you have different options. Mm-hmm. But then if you start to kind of see, I'm going to take it all the way back to like how even you as a teenager, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, wait a second, but don't you have choices? Like in that moment, your options that you kind of were seeing is that, hey, there's this option of she has a choice, and there's this option of she doesn't have a choice. Mm-hmm. How then do you lean in? How then do you like surrender to, you know what, this is the path I'm going to take, and like to actually push into some forward momentum with that?
I think sometimes when that voice gets louder, most of us don't act when it's quiet. It's just because we're just like, I don't know what that thought is. And that's okay. I don't judge that at all. But when we get to the point of, I hate to say pain in a sense, but like when it gets that bad, I mean, because really your choice is, when you're talking about my mom, it's like, well, she had a choice to do it, but she chose not to. And I watched that. I just knew that if something wasn't working for me, if I didn't like something about myself, or and maybe I was overweight, then why would I not choose to do something to help myself? Right. Now, again, different generations too. So there's a whole lot of work I do on breaking generational cycles, right? For us that are parents. But I think that is asking yourself why you are choosing that, right? Because a lot of times it is the self-sabotaging behaviors. Well, then what is it? What are you gaining from it? And I know that that's harsh, but I have to say it because I live it too. So what am I gaining from it? And guess what I gain from mine is I get to complain. I get to tell my husband how busy I am. I get to ask for empathy. And I'm sorry, but this is the honest to God truth. I don't want to be a complainer, but I also am struggling in certain areas where I am asking for him for help and guidance. Now, again, knowing we are two different brains. I just told you one earlier is like, he's like, I just don't think that way. So he might not be the best person to help me with some self-sabotaging beliefs still, right? So again, that's where I have chosen to invest in myself, which was also debilitating many years ago. Who am I to invest in myself? My client and I are going to go live about this soon because it's saying, this is why when you choose yourself and you choose that you're worthy and you choose that you believe in yourself, and you even put a little, I call it the skin in the game, maybe a little money towards your business, your big idea, you're quitting your job, putting that money into it, meaning you're not gaining that money, you're going to figure it out somewhere else. Then you're really telling yourself that you are worthy and that you believe in yourself and that you're willing to take that risk to see, right, if there is another option. And I think when you get that burning desire or these like when the voice gets louder is when you make the change, because it starts to hurt in a place where you're like, I don't want to go through this anymore. I do not want to continue. Like I was telling you with some people in work, why do you wake up excited about work every day? Well, no, it's work, Emily. Oh no, I know. I used to do stuff like that too. I do work too some days, right? Or is there a deeper purpose and meaning? Because some days are hard for me. Like some days are hard work, right? But is there deeper meaning and purpose behind it? Yes, of course. So then why am I choosing it? Because there's something bigger, right? So I think there's just like a lot of layers to that of listening to that voice and then saying, and sometimes it is waving a white flag and calling a friend that might be going through like that is maybe what's the word? Push through something too. And asking them again, not that their story is your story, but to say, you know, how'd you do it? Because what it comes down to, regardless of the situations, is one, I couldn't take it like this anymore.
Yeah.
I just had to try. And I think what people get surprised about is that almost 100% of clients, I can't think of one that's like, usually on the other side of that scary choice was, I wish I did it sooner. Oh, it's okay. You did it. And it wasn't that bad. Like they were so scared of this transformation or the pain to go through it. I'm like, no, it's never going to be worse than what you're in. Like this transformation, you're already in the worst. You're living in the worst. You're crying to me. You're anxious. I get it. I've been there. So you just think it's going to be even more painful, but it's actually, there's like, have you ever read 3 Feet from Gold?
No.
It's another like just like where it's just sharing stories of people that were literally like right there, not like gold as in money, but kind of, but like, and it was so painful and they just kept pulling back because they were actually right there.
It's like one of those like the pain of where you're at, it becomes like worse than the pain of the unknown. And that's what kind of takes you to, I remember. And I remember someone asking me, it was like, I think it was even my husband where he's like, okay, listen, if we do this, like what is the worst that could happen? And I was like, well, let's really play this out. And so literally, I mean, I had several journal pages of, I'm talking like the worst thing that happens of like, well, and then it doesn't work and the business doesn't do anything and I can't do this and then I get to this and then I have to go and I have to get back. I have to do another corporate job. And he looks at me and he's like, so your worst case scenario is the life you're living today.
Now. Yes. Yes.
I'm right. And then it was like, yeah, well, geez, I guess the worst, best thing I could ever do for myself is at least try. At least try.
Because there's a million corporate jobs that will probably take you back.
Not for sale, folks. Not for sale.
Not for sale. My husband asked me the same thing. I said, worst case scenario, I'll go and be a nurse. Like, I actually liked that. I was in leadership at the end. And he looked at me and he goes, as much as I love it, he goes, no. And you won't let that happen because you're not going back. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm not going back. And again, I love my nurses. I love you all. It was time to close a chapter.
Yep.
And wanted to use my caregiving and my nursing skills in a different way. And I knew it to my core. At that point, the pain was hard enough. And I was like, I am done. I am done. And I've heard this from all sorts of friends in those areas where it's just like, now has to be the time because it did hurt. And you're right. I couldn't keep living and choosing something that just didn't work and align. Yeah. I even made up these things look like, well, if this happens, then for sure. And then if this happens, then that will be the sign. Well, guess what? I played that game 3 times. I had 3 major signs and I was like, okay. Whoops. Probably needed to listen to the first one, but I didn't want to trust it at first. And it was scary. And that's why I said, and I think Brittany, you know this and your audience knows this too. It's that fear. And so then who needs to help you or what do you need to get through that?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, if you utilized all these resources, right? Or listen to the podcast and you're still feeling that, that's where I am like, reach out for some help. Right?
There's so many folks.
So many people that could help you. You may have to pay for it. You may not, but what is it worth to you to change your story?
Yep. What is it worth? What is it worth? What choice you're going to make? Oh, I love this. Thank you. This has been amazing. I know that I want to make sure that I'm conscious of your time too. So I'm going to go to, I've got 3 things actually for you here to end this, to like wrap this up, because this has just been, one of the things I will say before I ask you these questions is like, one of my favorite things about podcasting and the conversations that I get to have is like, so often the conversations turn into things that I didn't even know I needed. And so just thank you for being such a beautiful gift today, that reminder of the pain and the choices and the way that like you're beautiful, beautiful example of what happens when we choose something different for our life. So just thank you for that. Thank you. Okay. So one of the things that I always ask everybody is like, I'm constantly talking about, hey, quitting the things that just aren't serving you. And so when I just kind of say that phrase, like quitting the things that no longer serve you, what comes to mind for you?
Anxiety. Because what'll happen is when I get anxiety, I'm like, why? What am I choosing to do? Right? Where am I overgiving? So to me, it's like, okay, what do I need to stop? And it could maybe be on a daily or every other day basis where this is my check-in, is when I start feeling that, or that overwhelm, or I call it time anxiety. I am like it's weird. Anyway, like a time thing. Like we might not even be in a rush, but my brain always wants to be in a rush. And so I'm reprogramming. We're working through that.
Yep.
And so it's my check-in. Like I have to unlet go. There we go. We're getting really smart on here. I have to check in and then go, this doesn't really make sense.
This isn't what I want.
This isn't what I want. Yeah.
Yeah. What am I choosing? I love it. Anxiety. I love how I ask everybody that question now. That was starting this year. I started doing that and everybody says something different. And I think it's beautiful. All right. And then the other thing I just started doing this year is that every podcast guest, they have to answer, a question that was left by the guest prior. And then you're going to leave a question. So the guest prior has left you this question. Okay. So it's, what's been the worst thing that you've overcome that others may feel like they can't? And how'd you do it?
I mean, I think it really was boundaries. When I read the book by like Henry Cloud and John Townsend, honestly, I feel like they should just hire me. Anyway, I talk about them all the time. They don't even know it. Isn't that awesome? What a great energy. Like,
awesome.
I just feel like you guys, I talk about you guys like every freaking day. It changed my life. There's a chapter in there called A Boundary-Less Life. And I read that and I was like, yep, that was me. Because I thought setting a boundary or saying no or saying I can't, I can't is different. That's a different word, but I'm choosing not to. I just thought that was kind of mean. And I thought that was selfish. And I was a very, very servant type person since I was born. And I was taught, my dad was a doctor, my mom's a nurse. And I was just kind of taught that way. And what I realized is that's not God. And I thought that was, and I thought that's what I should be. So it's letting go of the shoulds. And I think that was one of the hardest things I overcame is the very first big boundaries when I set with my mom. I got judged. I didn't care. I didn't care because I was freeing myself of something. And I don't know, I won't even go to the whole thing. I did have one of her friends reach out and said, how could you do that? Mind you, all I did was like defriend her from Facebook because it was just too much. I'm just saying. Okay, sorry. I know. Thank you for laughing. I love you, Mom. I had needed a break. She commented on comments till 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. I couldn't keep up. So Mom, I love you, but I have to do this. I had a friend, her friend reached out and said, how could you do that? And so here's my response. And I'm so glad I read the book. I said, thank you for loving my mom so much. I love my mom too. I'm going to ask that you let this be our story and you just continue to love her. But thank you for feeling that you needed to call me out. I wanted to say without knowing the whole story, but I didn't. And I said, just thank you for loving my mom. She needs friends like you. And I love my mom too. And she will understand this someday. It was kind of like that. And I just let it go because I'm like, oh, because it was so painful. And I know that just doesn't seem like it was, but there's a lot more behind that. There's so much more behind that. And that was like the one boundary I had to start with. And I think that was the hardest thing I overcame was saying, I have to choose me. And not in a selfish way, this is my self-efficacy. This is my future legacies. This is my integrity. And I can set a boundary and love my mom at the same time.
Can. And you did so graciously too. Like you really did so from a place that I think so many of us wish that we could would make the choice to respond in that way more. So that's, you did so. Thank you for sharing that story. All right. And then last but not least, now you get to leave a question, anything you want, because you don't know who the next guest is. I know who the next guest is, but you don't.
I love it. That's a good question. Okay. I mean, I like to keep it the themes. That's just like these are the hills I will die on one day. What do you need to let go of? Well, no, that's what she asked me. What do you need to let go of? Did she say, what do you need to let go of that no longer serves you? But usually for me, it's around boundaries. Like what small boundary could you create today that would make a huge difference in your life?
Great question. Okay, this is the part I didn't tell you, but now you have to answer your own question.
Wow, you didn't tell me that either. Oh man. Unjuggle the struggle.
I know there's so many unjugglings.
All right, no, I'll say it because I said it earlier, and it is the real one. Is that I'm going to create 2 more, not just my morning one, 2 more times in the day where I'm going to, even if it's just 3 deep breaths, but it's 2 more intentional times throughout the day where I'm going to either like reflect or fill my cup. So anywhere from 3 deep breaths to 5 minutes, let's say. So 1 to 5 minutes. I'm putting it right down. 1 to 5 minutes, two more times a day.
So good. And let's see. I'll play along too. What small boundary could you make today that would change? You know what? It's for me actually. Not to say ditto, but to some respect, ditto. I was having a conversation this morning with someone. It was like, it was what was the best part of your week, what was the worst part of your week, and it was so easy to say what was the worst part of the week, but so hard to see all the good. And I think that comes back to like practicing gratitude. And it's like, man, I pray all the time, and I'm sending up prayers of gratitude all the time. But it's like, wait a second, we say to write down our goals so that we can internalize it. And so I need to go back to some of the practices that I know have changed my life, writing down those gratitude statements. So I am going to make intentional time. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it every work day. I'm going to do it every work day. I'm just write down one sentence that something I'm grateful for, writing it down. And that's a boundary for myself. That's a self-care boundary.
I love it. It's perfect.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. You are incredible. I so appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. We didn't talk about how can people connect with you, and where can they get in touch with you next?
Yes, I think Instagram's the best. It's at dremilyjacobs.com. No, it's not. It's at dremilyjacobs. And then Empowered Moms, we do a free newsletter. We do free networking every month. So it's empoweredmoms.co. We've got a big event here in Michigan in October, so stay tuned. Tickets coming.
Awesome. I will make sure all the links are in the show notes. Thank you again, my beautiful friend. I so appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time, guys. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me, and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.